Conversation series. I'm Kat Delgadillo here to co-host our event with our CEO, Paul Martin, who's going to give you a little more information about what we do here at 10 Capital Hall.
Great. Thanks, Kat. I want to thank everybody for joining us today for another great round of presenters here at 10 Capital. Before we do that, and while people are still coming in, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about 10 Capital and what we do. At heart, we help startups and investors connect for funding. We do these through online events, in-person events, as well as a series of other activities. We help the companies put together the fundraise plan, work up pitch decks, we build diligence reports, analyst reports, and the like. In short, we provide the legwork, saving you time and money. Next slide. We also help form capital for the early stage ecosystem. We help high net worth start family offices because they fund emerging managers. We help VC funds find limited partners, mostly high net worth and family offices. And then we also help angel groups find members. That's how they fund their process as well. So we're creating more capital to go into early stage ecosystems. Next slide. We have several online events and in-person events that we do each month. We do a pitch and match the third Wednesday of each month. We do a syndicate event on the second Wednesday of each month. And then we do investor education session, which is what we're in today, on the first Tuesday. And then we do one live event in person each month. This month we're going to be in LA on December 11th in the Baker Hostetler law firm in Los Angeles. If you want to learn more about 10 Capital and their events, go to 10capital.group, click on the events page, and you'll see what events we have coming up. Next slide. If you're a startup in the room and you want to consider our program, please take a picture of that QR code, fill out the form, and we'll follow up with you to see if this program is a good fit for your fundraise. Next slide. We also will give a survey at the end of the presentation so you could fill that out. We do look at each one and action those that come through. We always appreciate your feedback, and we've used that to increase our program. And finally, we do make extensive use of AI here. We build diligence reports and the like with it. We also analyze pitch decks, websites, and LinkedIn profiles to give actionable feedback to the startups. But let's learn more about it, and we call it Ava.
Here, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ava, your personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the 10 Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 blogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the 10 Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
So let's get started. Before we do so, let's look at some of the speakers that we have here today and some of the panelists. And we're going to have four presenters. We'll have Angiex first, Aviana second, Rahm third, and Evie Jack fourth. But some of the panelists that we have here include Mohamed Hachicha. Mohamed, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Hi, Hall. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. Sorry for being a little bit late. I'm a fractional CFO. I have my own firm. I help Series A, Seed, and Series B company optimize their financial operation and data management. And I'm a partner with 10 Capital, helping the company trying to raise money, being a panelist. And I see some faces that I already know. So looking forward to talking to you.
Great. We also have Yi Yang. Yi, if you want to join us, you're welcome to introduce yourself, but glad to have you on our presentation today.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Yi Yang, managing partner of Waterstar Capital. We are based in Atlanta, Georgia. currently we have three VC funds, and the number fourth VC fund is coming next year. We are kind of a pattern driven, typical involve from a pre-A round to B round, and we are limited only can invest in the North America. Thank you.
Okay. We have a few more investors in the audience. We'd like to bring some of them up as well. We'd love to have Jordan join us and Sal join us as well.
Hi, I'm Jordan Burton. I'm an associate at Lifespan Vision Ventures. We invest globally in therapeutic companies developing platforms that target the hallmarks of aging.
Great. And we'll see if we can get Sal coming up as well. And then I believe there's also Mark Kamazin and Gary Steiner that are going to join us. While we work on that, let's go ahead and kick into our first presenter here. Let's bring up Paul of Angiex. Paul, if you want to go ahead and launch your slides and kick off when ready.
Sure. Thank you, Hall. All right. So I have a very exciting company, very exciting drug to tell you about. So Angiex is based on 20 years of biology research and 12 years of drug development. Our founders discovered a very fundamental biology for cancer, which gives us potentially the ability to make cancer and solid cancers a non-lethal disease. We can attack any tumor cell that's capable of invasion and metastasis, and we can attack any growing tumor by eliminating its blood supply. And we can also potentiate the immune system against tumors while keeping it away from normal tissue. So between these three mechanisms of action, there's potential to really transform oncology. And we also have potential for great safety because in most patients, the drug should have only on-tumor effects. And so far in phase 1 clinical trials, the drug is performing exactly to our hopes. So the investment opportunity is you can enter now before the drug is proven at a low valuation, and there's potential for the valuation to go much, much higher. So this is what our drug looks like. It's an antibody drug conjugate. The antibody is directed to the protein TM4SF1. So in blue here, you see the antibody, in yellow, the conjugated drug payload. So the antibody provides targeting, homing to the tumor, and the yellow payload provides efficacy, potency against the cells in the tumor. And we've made a highly optimized drug. We've been the only people working in this field. There was essentially no prior art and no competing patents. And we were able to get very strong patent protection, which should give us essentially a monopoly in this field for the next 15 years or so. I mentioned we have three mechanisms of efficacy. One of them is we can obliterate the blood supply to the tumor. So we destroy not only the small vessels in the tumor, but these large vessels that feed and drain the tumor. And that starves the tumor cells, creates a necrosis in the middle, shrinks the tumors down. And in principle, this should be able to shrink any tumor down to the size of a pinhead and render it harmless. And we're hopeful that that will prove itself as a universal therapy for all solid tumors. And then across all solid cancers, there's very high expression in a majority of tumor cells. And the reason for that is in order to be capable of invasion and metastasis, the tumor cells have to express TM4SF1 at high levels and potentially become sensitive to our drug. So we get tumor cell killing across virtually all solid cancers. And then when we injure the tumor vasculature, we make the tumor into a wound, a wounded organ, and that causes the immune system to go in as it does with any wound. It sends in cytotoxic T cells, natural killer cells, antigen-presenting cells. So normally it's searching wounds for germs, but it's basically searching for anything foreign and trying to kill it. And if we combine with immune checkpoint inhibitors so that the immune system becomes likely to see the cancer cells as foreign, then we get very high response rates, so 70 to 80% in all the preclinical models we tested, and it works with CTLA-4 or PD-1 antibodies. So these are drugs that currently sell $50 billion a year. They're going off patent, and they only work in 12% of cancer patients. We may be able to make them work in 70% of cancer patients and control the patents. So this is where we're at in the clinic. We're dosing at what we believe is the optimal dose for efficacy as a monotherapy, 6.7, and we're also dosing patients at what we think will be the optimal dose in combination therapy, 2 milligram per kilogram. And so very exciting data will be coming over the next few months. And the drug so far has been quite safe. We have a lead indication, which we can bring to approval in 2028, which is quite rapid for cancer approvals. And as we progress, you'll see a big value inflection. The valuation will rise substantially from current levels. Once you demonstrate efficacy and multiple patient responses, then the average oncology company is valued at $400 million. But antibody drug conjugate companies have often been valued higher in the single digit billions. And then after drug approval, ADC companies have consistently been valued north of $10 billion. And as a reminder, we expect to get to that point in 2028. And so right now we're raising a top-off financing of $10 million by convertible note. I'll speak to that in a moment, but first a little about our team. So I'm founder and CEO, former astrophysicist at MIT, Berkeley, and Harvard, founder of 4 companies, and best-selling book author. I'm supported by an executive chairman who's led business development at Amgen and Merck, and then has been CEO or chairman of a number of companies. Top tier C-level team, our manufacturing and quality advisors have 7 approved ADCs, $70 billion of corporate acquisitions. Our CMO led oncology research at one of the Harvard hospitals before going into biotech. Our chief financial officer was in investment banking at Goldman Sachs, led life sciences investment banking at multiple firms, and has been a 4-time CFO. Our scientific founders made the top 2 discoveries in the field of angiogenesis. Use of funds, we've got a lot of top cancer centers that we're bringing on or have already brought on. So University of Southern California, Washington, University of St. Louis, and Florida cancer specialists already activated. MD Anderson in January, Dana-Farber soon after. We've got a network already which can bring us to approval. And, this money will fund getting additional clinical data, demonstrating responses, and getting that significant uptick in valuation. So in conclusion, a lot of people need us. This is a picture of my mother. She was diagnosed with cancer at age 22, died of it at age 33. I keep her picture next to my computer to remind me to work hard, and that a lot of people are depending on me, but they're also depending on investors to fund our work. And the speed at which we get to approval is really limited by the speed with which we can bring capital in. So I hope you'll help and share in our success and help us save lives. Thank you.
Great presentation. For those in the audience and here on the panels, each one will have 10 minutes to pitch and 10 minutes of Q&A. So with this, let's go to Jordan. What's your first question?
Hi, Paul. Thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering about the redosability. When you were looking at mouse studies, were you able to redose? It looks like you're doing combination effects to cut off the blood supply with your ADC and then treat with something else. So I'm kind of curious to get your perspective on how this treatment would look for a patient.
So we do expect to repeatedly dose the patient. I think that'll be the optimum approach we're exploring. at what we think are the most important dose levels. We're exploring multiple dose intervals between once every 3 weeks to once every 9 weeks. And we've already gotten enough data to home in. It looks like somewhere between 4 weeks and 6 weeks is probably optimal. So we're focusing on 6 weeks right now and looking at trying to find the optimal dose on that schedule for the monotherapy. And then the combination therapy, it's probably a once every 3 week schedule. That's the same schedule as Keytruda and Yervoy, which are the combination agents we're testing. And but that'll be a much lower dose that's much safer. So at this dose, our drug does not actually kill tumor cells. It just inflames the tumor. But that's enough to potentiate the immune system, and in combination with the checkpoint inhibitors, uh, obtain efficacy, we hope, in a substantial pool of patients. So essentially, our clinical strategy is going to be in the patients that are low risk for safety issues and can tolerate these high doses, we'll push them into the monotherapy at the high doses. And then the patients who have comorbid conditions that put them at risk from our drug at high doses, we'll treat them at this lower level in combination with Keytruda or Yervoy or some other immuno-oncology agent. And we hope to be able to treat 100% of solid cancer patients, but we'll have to prove that. But regardless, even if there's some we have to exclude, the market should be very large. We're learning the details, exactly how to dose and which cohort to put patients into, but we have a viable pathway for just about everyone.
Yeah, this looks really great. Just one other question, and then I'll turn it over to other investors. Some tumors require surgical resection to remove, and I'm wondering if this would be a preliminary treatment to um, that surgery, because if you're cutting off the blood supply, you're probably making it easier to get into the tumor location.
Um, we wouldn't treat at the same time or near the same time as the surgery because TM four has roles in wound healing, and we could interfere with the healing from the surgery. But it's an open question for various tumors whether we should treat with our drug first and maybe eliminate the need for surgery, or have surgery first and then treat with our drug. The situation where you might want to have surgery first is, say, a colorectal tumor. If our drug regressed the tumor, we might create a perforation in the wall of the colon, and that could lead to sepsis. If you're doing surgery, the surgeon can sew up the wound. If you really want to have a surgeon in there sewing up the wound after the tumor's regressed or eliminated, then you may want the surgery first. But in other cases, our drug is essentially a chemical surgery. We can eliminate every tumor, and we can eliminate all the tumors. So if, a tumor cell is metastasized, we can kill it wherever it's gone. And, we don't have any issues determining the margin of the tumor. We'll get the whole tumor, and the surgeons often miss the margins. So for a lot of cancers, we may be superior to surgery as a first treatment approach. So, again, that's another thing, we have to investigate through clinical research and figure out.
Great.
But typically oncology drugs are developed as the last line of therapy first because it's the quickest path to approval, and then you prove that you're better than competing approaches like surgery later on after you've already achieved approval in something. And that's probably what we'll be doing as well. So we have plenty of time to figure out the surgery issue.
So we have a question from the audience, and then we'll move to Yi Yang. It's what is post-money valuation for Angiex?
So we recently completed an equity financing, and you can see our press release on it. And we opened a convertible note, And so we're raising into the note. So it's a 20% discount, 10% interest rate, $200 million valuation cap. Exactly where the valuation is a little uncertain because we keep getting good clinical data. Uh, but the data set is not mature enough to do another equity financing, so it's hard to tell what the value is, and that's why we're raising by convertible note at the moment.
Okay. And the following question is, can Angiex work for brain tumors or not due to the BBB, blood-brain barrier, and glioblastoma?
Yeah, we work great for brain tumors in mouse models. In fact, we have an orthotopic glioblastoma model that we did very well in. There's no reason why we wouldn't work just as well. And in fact, we're planning a phase 1 trial in glioblastoma as one arm and brain metastases from any site of origin as the other arm. But that probably won't get started until late next year. So the thing about brain cancers, neuro-oncologists, it's a real specialty. It's a different set of oncologists, different set of procedures and practices, and a different division of oncology at the FDA. So it's really a new trial in order to study uh, brain cancers, and we'll focus first on proving that we can be successful in cancers like pancreatic, lung cancer, angiosarcoma, and get the brain cancers trial started late next year.
Great. Yang, what questions did you have?
Sorry, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Mohammed, what questions do you have?
Hey Paul, good to see you again. My question is twofold, right? Like one is you have been probably talking to investor all year. I've seen you kind of present, right? What is the one thing that they're looking at right now and pushing to kind of see either a milestone getting reached or a validation, like before they write a check? Are you getting that sense where they're waiting for you to reach a certain milestone before they're comfortable writing a check, or are you still feeling like you're 2 or 3 milestones away?
Uh, oh, we're close. So the large investors, who write 20 to $50 million checks, they're generally waiting to see multiple responses and maybe
Mm,
some, enough patients to get an evidence of response rate, which can tell them, the likelihood of approval. And so we're probably 6 months away from being able to take money from them. But then as you go down in check size, people realize they can't wait until everything's proven because everybody will want to invest and they probably won't have the opportunity. And right now we're accepting checks. Our minimum size is $50,000. We're accepting from individuals. So, I think individuals, don't really have milestones. They're willing to invest now. And then kind of the middle size, like single digit millions of dollars. It's kind of, uh, yeah, it's more getting comfortable. And some of them want to wait and see a little more data, and some of them are willing to invest now. So,
Right.
thank
Uh,
you.
we do have a little bit more time here. Mark, did you have any other questions?
Oh, that was it. That was it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that wraps up the investor questions that we have here. Let's thank Paul for a great presentation and move on to Aviana. Aviana will be next. Manoj, go and launch your slides and kick off when ready.
Paul, can you hear me now?
It's a little low. Can you turn up the volume a little bit?
Yeah, let me try.
That's better.
Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me start. Get to the front slide, and can you see it now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. And
So
we
thank
see
you
precision
very
in
much.
your pocket.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're transforming healthcare by using affordable diagnostics. And I love this diagram because it connects people. And we want to solve real life solutions. And that's what I'm focused on right now. What is the problem with the rapid healthcare, point of care in evolving and complex healthcare environment? The problem is that most of the technologies that have been used now are over 60 years old. As you can see, the technology that was used during COVID is a qualitative assay using light technology. We are using completely different technology to solve the problem. And the problem is that the other problem is that most people who have diagnostics done actually end up spending days. They get the reference from the doctor, they go to the Quest or someplace like that, get their blood drawn. The results go to the doctor and eventually comes to them. And that could be a therapeutic loss. So we want to try and do it as fast as possible. And in fact, we use a radio frequency chip that has been used in telecommunication, and we've converted that into a diagnostic tool, which is difficult to do, but we've done it. And our technology is now pretty much ready. It's been funded by the Air Force. It's been funded by private investors. And so we're on our way to clinical validation. There's lots of advantages to it, including wide range of analytes. We can go all the way from small molecule to cells if we need to. That's in the literature. And we're using, this is not your grandfather's SAW chip. This is a modern technology that was derived for NASA, and we licensed it from the engineering team that built it, which was at UCF. There are lots of other things. It's portable. It's direct and small sample volume. We've shown accuracy in serology, and we're about to get to other areas. It's also AI driven. We're going to use AI to look at the data we derive. And, because of that, we can use AI to increase our sensitivity. We can also use for cloud analytics. And the other interesting thing is cross-domain data integration, which allows us to go into human to animal and animal to human, called zoonotic disease. And that was the reason for COVID. We have just initiated a scientific opportunity with the Long Island University, which is an accelerator in Brooklyn Heights. They've taken us on, going to provide a lot of engineering capability. And we are a highly engineering company. And we will provide the biological background, and I'll provide a lot of the clinical and regulatory. So they'll do a lot of that, and they also have access to grants and in groups in New York State. So what is the market opportunity? As I said, we want to solve real life problems, and for that we focused on areas where we can make a difference. And part of our business development will be allowing us to go into areas that are required by other people. And so we go all the way from Lyme testing, which is currently a major problem, all the way to traumatic brain injury and to zoonotic disease like dengue. We're focused right now on Lyme disease because we have data on it that shows that we have a high sensitivity and specificity in early studies. And now we want to expand the studies into larger sample size. We're working with the Westchester Medical Center that collected about 300 for us. And we will have, through New York State, we'll have connections to other labs. So we're well positioned to do it. The first phase is going to be what's called a laboratory-derived test, where we can charge for the test, and current Lyme tests are often conducted this way. The regular requirements are minimal, and then after that, we go into a 510K, and we'll show you our smart strategy for raising money. No clear waiver is needed at this time, and it's run by staff. So we're increasing in the complexity in regulatory as we launch test and get more familiar with the marketplace. Eventually, we'll get into a clear waiver use for outside the lab, which will include pharmacies and women's health and other areas, and then eventually to other areas that where we can take a smartphone and take it out to the field. So why Lyme disease? Lyme disease, it's a problem and a growing problem with climate change from Northeast now to the Midwest, and even in areas of Washington State and San Francisco area, Bay Area. And so there's a rising incidence of Lyme disease, and it's currently about $1 billion, but rising fast. And here are the people, the companies working in it, but they're not portable or not rapid. They require what's called a two-step process. which means that they need to get to the lab. And then if they're positive, they get another confirmatory test. From out, we can do a single step and we can have the results rapidly. So as we go from LDT to clear waiver, we can get into physicians' offices eventually. But we want to start with doing the test in our own lab. And so now, just in terms of what else is available in the point of care markets, we've looked at this pretty carefully. And basically, you're looking at three major technologies: optical, PCR, which is molecular diagnostics, and electrochemical, which is the ISTAT process. We're very different. We're a piezoelectric system. It's easy to use, doesn't require any sample prep or any laboratory equipment. It's low cost of goods because these systems, the sensors are made in the billions every year for the cellular communication industry. We can feed right into that. And the range is wide compared to some of the products that are on the market for point of care. And so I think we have a real advantage in the diagnostic space that we can take advantage of. And even the other products that are coming into market are basically refinements of these three: optical, PCR, electrochemical. And we haven't seen another surface acoustic wave system, except for one in Japan, but they have a system that doesn't have the same sensitivity that we do. And they've asked us to actually market their product. So what is our financial snapshot? We have a conservative method of looking at the finances. The first year, which is next year, we hope to get about $500,000 from the LDT and get 510K approval. We hope to increase the market size and eventually other products will come into the market. We have an excellent team to get us started with the experience that we need, with including the biomedical engineers at LIU. Anand has been working in this field since beginning, since his intern, really knows our system well. And Josh McConkey has worked in the SAW technology, really great electrical engineer, has worked for NASA and has put major projects together. We're currently looking at a board of directors because we had to let go of the last board, and we'll be looking at that carefully as we get funded. So we have a smart capital strategy. We're looking at three tranches to market leadership. The first tranche is about $750,000 to $1.2 million in a fast note that allow us to finalize the system for lab deployment and start the LDT process. The second tranche is $5 million with a pre-money valuation as 25. So that'll be the cap for the fast note. And this would allow us to continue with the new product development and submit the 510K for Lyme. So we have a solidified regulatory pathway for broader use. Then the last tranche that we're looking for is an 18 million growth. At that point, we'll be on the market and we can be purchased anytime, along with the ability to be able to do business development for other, therapeutic areas. So electronic chip technology, compact, smartphone connected, and we're perfect for today's care model, because eventually we can go to all of these places that we have to. Thank you very much.
Oh, great presentation, Vanaja. Mark, what's your first question?
What matrix are you looking at? Plasma, whole blood, saliva, urine, whatever?
Mark, that's a very good question. So far, the work we've done has been with blood, whole blood, without any sample processing directly onto the cartridge. And this area that we've looked at is nasal samples for COVID. We did a COVID study for the Air Force. But I believe that we're agnostic to the biological sample.
And do you have any current sensitivity data? Are you able to detect, versus Angiex, or I forget what other companies do the Lyme tests?
Yes, we have. Let me show you the data. Yeah, here's the data. We've done initial studies looking at both IgG and IgM, and samples we derived from commercial sources. Looked at whole blood and plasma. We get the samples from plasma, and then we add to it. And clearly we can detect samples, we can detect early IgM, and late IgG disease. We've done a comparative study with Euroimmune, which is a first level ELISA test. You can see there's a lot of false positives there, which is a problem. We presented this at the CDC, and Euroimmune came and told us we were absolutely right on it. So thank you for the question, Mark, but and the technology is far enough that we can now start to collect more data.
Any other questions, Mark?
Oh, I mean, you just need a lot more data. A few samples or controls is fine. It's a good starting point. And then we have to see when you do 100 or eventually 1,000, because it's a cheap test, it sounds like. Are there false positives due to other interferences or not?
Okay.
A good question. We spent our time, advancing the technology with the funds that we received, and so now we're ready to go to clinical validation. But this test was amazing, and the reason that it's so good is because it uses a proprietary antigen, which looks at both IgG and IgM. And we derived this recombinant protein from University of Central Florida with Dr. Jewett, and I think that gives us a proprietary. Good to know this kind of proprietary in we do.
And your audio is very quiet for me anyway.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
You can turn it up a little bit. That would help. It went down a little bit there.
So Lyme's disease presents as a bullseye pattern when you initially contract it. And a lot of times clinicians don't need anything but an image of the bullseye on the skin to confirm a diagnosis of Lyme's and then prescribe doxycycline to treat. So I guess I'm wondering why you chose Lyme as a first line test.
It's a good question. We've talked to many of the doctors that practice in this area, and one of them is actually going to be one of our consultants. And the bullseye is found, and also the disease is not diagnosed early, and patients start to have symptoms. As you know, Lyme disease is a very unusual disease in the sense that the spirochete uses a blood a system as a highway, burrows itself into different tissues. And if you don't find the bullseye, then it can take a while for the symptoms to appear. And at that point, then you start to have symptoms wherever it burrows itself, heart, brain, wherever. And the symptoms, at that point have to be tested. And so we want to provide a test that's correct. And many of the physicians, we just presented to the Mayo Clinic, and we got the same response. And there wasn't anything out there. I mean, these are a lot of these boxes of things that can do the various tests, but something that can be done easily and is portable. And but Mark's right. We have to do more clinical data, and we're planning to do that.
And one comment, the bullseyes are usually not seen. They could be in obscure areas or they don't look. And so most of the times you do not get the bullseye. It's maybe 30% if that. And then treating with doxycycline sometimes doesn't work, especially if it's at all later. It often doesn't work. So only if you catch it early. And a lot of people are running around with Lyme that's chronic.
It's a real problem, Jordan. I mean, and there are a lot of shysters out there that do this test and charge a lot of money. So we want to be highly scientific, and we want to make the right diagnosis. But this is just our first entry. We're not really a Lyme company. This is just our first entry. It's an entry. Serology is something that's really good for us because the IgG and IgM levels are high. And then as we employ AI and get into more sensitive areas, second area of interest is preeclampsia. Again, we have a biomarker that is specific for rule-in disease. And so we want to go after places where we can make a difference.
And then Lyme often has co-infections like Babesia bartonella. So,
right.
Yes.
Jordan, what's your thought?
I got a suggestion to expand the map from the US to at least include Europe because the Germany area specifically has been having an increased prevalence of contraction of Lyme's disease. I actually contracted Lyme's disease while I was there. earlier this year, and the bullseye pattern did fortunately appear, and I was able to be treated. Um, but yeah, so I think that you'd find the prevalence is growing rapidly worldwide, and so you have a bigger market than just the US.
See, Jordan, I think the only concern there is the Bergdorfi is a little species specific, is a little different in Europe. So I'm not sure that this particular protein would do that, but I think once we prove that a recombinant protein like this works, then we'll probably get the right recombinant protein for Europe, and that's our plan. But this for us, is an easy ending. We have the protein, we have the technology.
Thank you.
Mohammed, what's your question?
Hey, Vanessa, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Mohammed. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. Quick question. What proof in the next quarter would convince a large network to standardize on your test across locations?
Yes, it is exactly what would LDT, which is basically how Lyme is tested right now. I'm sorry, it keeps going up. So the Lyme currently is tested by using a lot of LDT companies like Igenics. And so what we want to do is to show that we have the same, as Mark was saying, we need to show the clinical validation by looking at the clinical data and to make sure that our test correlates with that. And that's exactly what we're planning to do. In fact, the head of pathology at Westchester Medical Center is really very enamored of our technology, not just for Lyme, but for lots of other things. And over the last year, she's collected about 300 samples, and she has a clinical data. And we're working with George Dempsey, who started the Lyme Biobank, which also has a very large, well-validated clinical database. So we're going to be drawing from that and the CDC Lyme database. So that showing the clinical correlation, as Jordan said and Mark said, will be a very important. Not the technology is pretty far advanced.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Vidya, for a great presentation. Thanks, guys, for great questions. Let's go to our next presenter. We have with us next Rahm Sensor. Vic, launch your slides and kick off when you're ready.
Sorry, are you able to see my screen?
We see your screen. You're good to go.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Vikram Prakash. I am the founder of Rahm Sensor Development. I'm a second-time founder where we initially applied the technology, which is vital sign monitoring in the animal field. So basically what we did is we took radar technology, which came from University of Florida, and we kept in front of animals to get the vitals. We solved a point for a problem for veterinarians, because for them, the biggest issue was when they did a surgery, they wanted to check and see how the animal's doing post-surgery. So our product would be able to see how the animal is doing when they're not in front of the animals. So basically, the bottom line, we sold the company for $18 million. What came out of it is that I was able to handle the same technology for the human applications. And now I'm started to work on the human application with my team. So we have a strong team in this place. Dave Holden is the AI director who's been on artificial intelligence for almost 30 years. Before anything, the word AI was in place. Kevin O'Connor, who I believe is on the call as well, has been a sales director. We started to generate revenue in the human side. I'm going to go down a little bit on that. And a ton of advisors who were part of the last company and also a part of this company as well. So when I talk about human applications, the biggest goal was to identify where we could get this applications to get going. Why do vital signs matter in the human field? We did do an NSF funding to identify where we could get these applications rolling. And talking to customer bases, we identified two applications. One is incarceration care, and the other one is elderly care. We're doing sequentially. We haven't started the elderly care at this moment. We're focusing on the incarceration care, and that's where our revenue has started to generate at this point of time. So the biggest issue here is that you must have heard of this old adage, innocent until proven guilty. So when you go in jails, it's not the same as going to prisons. You go to prisons only when the judge sentences you for for a given sentence you have to do. So when in jail, if something goes wrong with you, you're responsible. The jail is responsible for all your everyday living identification purposes. So one thing we realized that the number of deaths which happen in jails is astonishingly very high. The people are trying to commit suicide, and if they're successful, then now the jails are liable to pay for the family members. Now you got to understand these people are not like just us. It comes through a lot of mental and a lot of issues they've had in place for a long time. So they have to take drastic steps. So in that case of time, we developed two product lines. So the one Cell Guardian is what we're talking about doing for monitoring of inmates in jails. It's basically two things it does. It's got a combination of vital sign monitoring, but the other thing is where the AI implementation we've done is to detect for suicides. So basically what it does is that it's preventive. It looks at the person all the time in the jail cell, identifies what they're doing, and it documents everything what's going on. And the second part of it, because we have vital sign monitoring, which we've been doing for a long time, we understand how that works. You get the vital signs along with the product line, and then indicate to the jail officer while they look at the person. Now, one of the biggest things when it comes to jail is that the regulatory period says that you have to monitor an inmate for every 15 minutes, give or take. So whether we like it or not, whether our device is used or not, every day jail officials have to go and look at these people at every 15 minutes, check on them. So our product works as an aid for them so they can check on them those 14 minutes when they're not in front of the purposes. And anything what we do is documented, put it on the AWS side so they can go back and check on the person on what happened about even 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and anything, the information they can find on that purposes. So what's the biggest competitive mode for us? Our product, the technology we are developing, works in both applications. We're talking about Cell Guardian works for the monitoring jails. We're talking about monitoring of old people at nursing home facilities, which uses the same technology. So there's nothing going out of going out of the way to say, okay, I'm developing another dual market at this point in time. The technology can be used in both applications at this case a ton. So any given day, I know there's about, we talk about $1.7 billion of TAM when it comes to jails and what the revenue is, but you got to think about the numbers. Any single day, there's 600,000 people in jails in the United States of America. 10% of them have an issue with the mental crisis. So every day, these 10% or 60,000 of them around the country have to be monitored one way or the other every single time. So our beachhead is going into jails, followed by prisons, and finally in the federal side and defense side. Now, when it comes to the elderly care market, that also is a bigger market in space. Once we prove it in the beachhead market, then we're going to go in this market space. Here, we're talking about 7 million people who have some kind of dementia issues that have to be monitored. Put it this way: one, you're confined in a prison cell. The other way, you're confined in your own mind itself when it comes to elderly care who had dementia issues. So we started the company 2 years ago after the exit of the last company. So last 2 years, what we've been focusing on is getting our regulatory pathway all cleared out. So right now we have an FDA Class 1 on both the product lines for the Cell Guardian and Silver Guardian. What we're following up right now is to get an FDA Class 2, which is already on its way. We're getting the safety testing done. We're finishing the clinical trials. By February, we'll be submitting it to FDA so that hoping in the next 3 months after that point of time, we get our FDA Class 2. The FDA Class 2 is specifically for vital sign monitoring, but for other previous sites, since the FDA Class 1, we've already got it for fall detection, as well as looking at the person through the camera view itself. So why us, right? So there's a big thing going on right now when it comes to vital sign monitoring. There's a lot of products out there that says they can do vital sign monitoring, but I can tell you this one: while you do vital sign monitoring, what we realized based on our last time's experience at this point, radar is kind of, there's nothing you can see other than the data point which you see from what it generates. But when you integrate it with a video camera, now you're able to see what's going on at the same time when you get the data as well. That's the separation us from the other companies out there. What we have patents is on sensor fusion technology. We can integrate the camera, vital sign monitoring, the advanced motion of fall detection, and all this done by AI predictive analytics, which can tell you exactly what is happening at the same time at any time given place. So we started technology with University of Florida. We have 11 granted patents. All these are associated with radar patent technology. We have created the technology right now to something called FMCW, that's frequently modulated continuous waveform, which you get even more better, precise vital sign monitoring. We also have patents when it comes to multi-sensor fusion. We're trying to add more patents on that case. That way, we're the leader when it comes to this technology, when it comes to vital signs monitoring, fall detection, as well as AR detection. As I said, we have got the product out there. We go to every month, we go out to trade shows. We have built up a reputation out there using this product for monitoring inmates in jails. The goal is right now into customer engagement, awareness and engagement. We're trying to get more and more POs out there to our customers to and continue to go out and install the devices in jails at this point in time. In 2026, we plan to follow the same kind of protocol when going to understand the product called Silver Guardian, which is going to be for elder care monitoring. So right now we have two models. We can sell the product as a unit sale for $3,500 or a SaaS or a HaaS model as hardware as subscription, $119 a month for 4 years. We have customers who prefer one or the other. The interesting thing is even if I sell for $119 a month, they prefer to pay it on a yearly basis. So what it means is that we already covered my COGS for that given for the product line. Followed that is just mainly monthly revenue on the product line as long as we maintain the product at that given jail cells. So in 2025, we are on target right now. We should be able to sell about 100 units at this point of time. Next year, I'm excited because we're getting more and more sales orders in. So the ability to expand quickly into jails as well as in the elderly care market will also be exceeding our expectations for the next coming up 3 years. The COGS at this time is about $1,200. We know it can drop down all the way to $700 because we did this already in the veterinarian side, so we know what it takes to reduce the COGS to at least in $500 at some point in 2029 onwards. So we have already raised $1 million. We started a C2 round for $2 million raise. What we plan to do is that we're giving this as a $10 million pre-money valuation cap, 20% discount and 8% interest rate. We opened this round October 1st, 2025. We started to have checks. Basically, the same investor who invested in the last company, invested in the first million, are also again back reinvesting this company again at this point of time on the second raise as well. We are working with people out there to continue to fill up this raise by January, February of next year. And what we plan to do this, the biggest issue for us is sales. That's it. Sales, sales, sales. We got to get this product out there. We are already in the incubator to early adopter stage. So you know that the biggest thing when it comes to is that the biggest movie in the early majority. So if we are able to get this product out there to more jails at this point in time, we're confident that we'll move to the next later to get into the elderly care in 2026. So why us? Why Rahm at this point in time? I'll be honest. The jail market is for us is a blue ocean. Other than one other company which does vital sign monitoring at this point of time, we're the only ones who have a technology which jails are very interested at this point of time, right? So for someone to compete against this is very hard because of the amount of experience we have, amount of time we spent the last 2 years developing this product line. We can go to every single jail in this country and get this product out there. The other piece of it is a strong patent protection. We had a freedom to operate at this point in time for the veterinarian market. We're also doing the jail side at this point in time. And we have the ability to prove this because we've already done it. The same team which did for the veterinarian side, same leadership team is now working towards the other two application side. Thank you.
Great presentation, Vic. Mohamed, what's your first question?
Hey, Vic, thank you for the presentation. First time. I have just one simple question as far as I'm concerned. Is what date are you targeting for Class 2 submission based on your deck? And what can you sell or pilot before that without slowing adoption?
Yeah, so we're doing for FDA Class 2, we're doing breathing rate and as well as heart rate. So those are the two ones we're going to be applying for. There's a predicate device already out there which does that, so it's easier for us to show that we're comparing to an existing ground truth out there available. So that's the FDA class 2, which is vital signs. At this point in time, jails want to know how the inmates are doing. So vital signs helps, but no, they're not doctors. They don't need to have an FDA class 2 at this point in time. As long as the people are they are able to detect and say that something's okay or not okay, that's fine for now as a part of FDA class 1.
And if I may hold one more question. I
Sure.
know that like the jail, I'm not an expert in it, but I know that
Sure.
the jail system in the US is both public and private,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is there an angle where maybe you want to push this more to one or the other, like maybe the public and it becomes regulatory pressure to have this monitoring in place? Or is it the private because of a cost side, like, hey, we want you to lower your cost and your risk, so it's better to prevent rather than cure type of thing. What is your view on it?
Yeah, I think it's a good question on this. There's both in place, public and private. We're focusing the public because I'll tell you what, one of the things when it comes to public, you can test it out clearly well before you get in the private side. Then it's a faster rate of adoption
Adoption.
because you
Okay.
got this. One thing we also realized because we've been doing for a year and now is that it's faster to adopt in rural counties because they don't have the manpower. And two, they have jails which can quickly, the jailer decides, okay, buy the product. That's it. We've been to some of these places where they say, okay, we do a demo. They say, okay, that's it. They sign on the PO, move forward. Where we find the issue is the bigger jails like LA County and which we're trying to close. It's almost taken 8-9 months because you got to get a lot of signatures in place for them to adopt. But because what's happened in the last few months, we have shown that we got the adoption of other rural areas. That shows okay, they put pressure on the LA County or anywhere else to say, okay, we need to buy this product. So that's how things are getting better for us at this point in time.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Mark, you want to ask your question out loud? You're on mute. You're on mute.
The stupid one of the sidebars was hiding my audio. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, my wife has an iWatch that monitors fall detection. A brother of hers does sort of backcountry biking and stuff. He's got a Garmin that detects, accidents and things. These all can detect SpO2, the oxygen in your blood, motion, AFib, ECG are starting to be more common. So how do you compete with those? I mean, that just seems lower cost existing technologies.
Yeah, good question. So when we talk about elderly care, first of all, who's going to wear the question is, do you want a wearable or a non-wearable? And what's our market segment going to be? So we're talking about dementia patients at this point in time. We put anything on them, they get irritated or they want to put things on that. So the big piece is at this point in time is that if they fall, if they have issues, how do you alert the caregiver, the adult children in the room or anybody else out there quickly to identify what they have an issue with and check on them? That's the segment of market we're going after when it comes to anybody else at this point. That is identify the non-wearable technology, nothing touching them, and detect anything which is out of the ordinary and let the caregiver or the jail official know about this. That's our segment we're going after, Mark.
Okay. And the good news is it's a confined environment, so you only have to look at one cell. Yeah.
Exactly.
Much
Yeah.
training
Go ahead, Jordan.
how much training will employees of these systems need to be able to use your Cell Guardian system?
That we don't do any training as such other than them viewing on the screen what's going on, because anything which happens sends an alert on the screen to check on the person. And then the screen is already video integrated so that the video can be shown as well as what's the problem out there. So that's all they have to do. Check and go see at the cell if they have to go in and open the door and talk to the person. So it's just a it's a monitoring application where it's already set in. They don't have to touch anything, they just see it and they know what to do next.
Any other questions, Jordan? Okay. Great. If anybody in the audience has a question, please go ahead and post it in the chat box and we'll ask that out loud. Otherwise, we'll get ready for our next presenter. which is going to be EV Jack. So with that, let's go ahead and bring Craig up. Craig, if you want to launch your slides and kick off, I'm ready.
Great. Thanks, everybody. It's good to be here. Excited to introduce you to EVject. We've been working on patents and innovations around smart connectors for a long time. And specifically, we came across this problem. We had filed the patents about 5 years ago, but it became more and more prevalent as there are more public chargers being rolled out across the world. And that problem is that when you are plugged into any charger, your electric vehicle is completely disabled. You can't even shift into neutral. You can't even take your parking brake off if you wanted to. And that was by design because early on, all EVs were only charging in the garage. And so they were trying to protect people from mishaps where they accidentally drove off with the charger connected and inadvertently ripped the charger off the wall. This is a problem that was solved for gas stations, even though gas vehicles don't have that same type of logic. Gas pumps all have a breakaway valve built into them, and you can drive away. And in fact, it happens about 6,000 times per year in the US alone, where people use the breakaway valve to escape from some type of crime-induced panic. So, maybe they see a drug deal going down or someone is approaching their vehicle or something like that. In those situations, they can drive away. Usually, if they go back to the gas station will charge them a $500 fee for driving away. But gas stations have that option, whereas electric vehicles have no such option. So this image that's in the bottom right is actually from a news story that happened over the summer in Ottawa, Canada. So I'm going to play that clip now.
All right, so remember last week we talked about on Patreon bonus stories, we talked about this attempted abduction that happened up in Canada.
Incident Friday afternoon shows 4 people dressed in black forcefully pull a woman out of her vehicle towards a parked blue Honda.
We had talked about how if you had had one of these, the EVject escape connector, that would not have happened. You would have been able to drive away when people were trying to abduct you out of your car, and you wouldn't have had to get out of your car to unplug the car in order to drive away because you're plugged in at a supercharger. The EVject allows you to stop charging and drive away, and it brakes, allowing you to escape.
Yeah, but a lot of people argued that if there's a car blocking you in, then it doesn't matter that you're using that plug.
And this is why I love Craig over at EVject, because he took his Model Y and his daughter's Honda Civic, which is the same car that was being used in this attempted abduction.
You're not going to tell me he did what, did he repeat this experiment?
He tested out if your Model 3 or Model Y could push a Honda Civic out of the way. Check it out.
Wait, what?
I really appreciate a CEO and founder who can put his money where
you have to get up some speed and ram it.
No, the Teslas have so much torque, you can push pretty much any car out of the way.
His daughter agreed to this.
He paid her $100 and a big gulp, and for risking breaking her car. Good for her. This could save lives. Hey, criminals watching. Yeah, not going to work, especially if the person has an EVject. So back off the superchargers, but thank you to EVject for making this possible. If you had to get out of your car in order to unplug it and then try to push the car out of the way, they would have abducted you or robbed you or murdered you.
So that's just kind of a fun overview of what became actually a good outcome. The lady actually escaped about 2 traffic lights away. She was able to get out of the car. So I'm not sure how amateur the criminals were, but somehow she got away and was able to get to safety. But that entire situation, as you see, could have been avoided if she had an EVject, because they grabbed her when she got out to unplug. So this is the device that we patented and have rolled out. We started with the NACS version, which is the one that's compatible with all Teslas in North America. And additionally, all the new EVs that are rolling out in 2026 and 2027 will have the NACS connector. Prior to that, all of them had CCS1 in the United States, and CCS2 is what's used by all EVs, including Teslas, in Europe and Asia. And so we are rolling that out, and we actually have a new team member who's joining us in January, who is a 10-year veteran of Tesla, who's joining our company and helping us to expand throughout Europe and Asia with the CCS2 form factor. So it's not just that the device breaks away. We actually have a mechanical electrical relay inside that allows you to remotely disconnect the charge. And so one point of clarification is that we don't allow anybody to drive away while charging, only while plugged in. We don't want people to be driving away when there's any type of current flowing. So we stop all of that before we let them drive. And we do that using mechanical logic instead of any type of software. And they can do it by pressing the unlock charge button, unlock charge port button inside every Tesla. It's on the app. It also is built into the charging infrastructure. So, for example, this is a Kia, a brand new 2026 Kia that has a NACS port, and you can pull up to a supercharger, and without any software installation or anything else like that, you simply press stop charging on the Tesla app, which you can do from inside the vehicle, and it activates the EVject. So that was the advantage of doing a completely hardware based logic, was that we knew we would be compatible with all these vehicles as they rolled out because they have to follow the NACS standard. And so you can see all the logos of all the car brands that are now rolling out the NACS connector, which means our market by extension is just doubling overnight this year in just the United States, even if we don't engineer any additional devices. So back in 2020 and 2021, we started filing these patents. We knew there was going to be this problem as we saw public chargers being installed around the world. We thought it's only a matter of time until criminals recognize that all these people are sitting ducks. And so we actually patented every method for separating a vehicle from a charger. So that could be a spring-loaded mechanism, any type of motor-driven mechanism from inside the vehicle, from the charge port side, or from the charger side. We also designed and developed a breakaway tip that protects the charger. So if they were to create a software change, for example, if Tesla just said, you know what, we're going to let the cars drive away. If you did that today, you would absolutely destroy your charge port and making it inaccessible to charge the next time. So now you're going to be stranded somewhere, and it would cost about $4,000 or $5,000 to rebuild your charge port. It would completely destroy it as you drive away. But if they introduced a breakaway tip, which we think is the actual direction the entire industry should go, then you can not only allow them to drive away from an emergency, but you also create a situation where they can service those tips. So, for example, right now we're seeing a problem where chargers wear out. They get plugged and unplugged. They create fatigue. This was not just a speculation on our part. We actually were approached last March by the head of fleet operations for Amazon. She came to us and said, I love the EVject. I know what it does for women's safety, but I have a different problem. I have 25,000 delivery vans that are getting fused to their chargers because the charger will melt or they're left in a puddle, they corrode, and the next day the van's not charged. She said it's costing us millions a month in logistics. Do you have just a tip that we can put on the end of our charger that would allow us to solve this? And we said, well, funny you ask. We actually have the patents and prototype. I handed her a 3D printed version. I've got it right here. It's just a small device that goes on the end of the charger. We handed her this 3D printed prototype, and she said, if you have that, I would place an order right now for 30,000. And so we got on some calls with Amazon, and they submitted a purchase order for 30,000 of these units at $99 a piece, which is why we're raising capital, because Amazon typically won't prepay for any purchase order. We are talking with them about investing. They want to come in on our Series A, but we need to raise a few $100,000 more to cover the cost of manufacturing and certification of this pro tip before we distribute it to Amazon. We want to be careful here because we know Amazon has a little bit of a history of infringing or taking someone's design and making it on their own. So we're proceeding with caution. We haven't sent them any 3D prints. We've let them hold them in in-person meetings, and they've signed NDAs. And we actually have them on record saying that they're going to work collaboratively. But we do want to be careful and make sure we get all the provisions in place with certification and get the right legal documents in place before we actually deliver the 30,000 units. So that is the pro tip that we can roll out as well. Just to put things into perspective from a global market standpoint, there are currently 60 million EVs. And to define EV, we're actually talking about four-wheeled devices. This is not e-bikes. This is not scooters or tricycle, cars. These are actually four-wheeled battery electric vehicles. And that, if we were to sell just EVject, just the EVject, our typical price point is $299. That's our MSRP. But if we sell them wholesale, they're as low as $150 per unit. At $150 per unit, that's $9 billion in revenue. And that's not even factoring in the pro tip that you can sell to all of the charging companies. So we have a really strong team, not only me and Eric who have invented it and designed and engineered this, and we have Brian who's helped us along the way with all the patent work. We also have a lot of really capable advisors. Erica Myers, I want to call out. She is the executive director of Charin, which is the global consortium of charging worldwide. And so she works with all the automakers, the charging companies, the certifications groups, and she's a big fan. She's a customer of EVject. She drives a Tesla and a Volkswagen, and she says she will not charge in public without our product. And so she's been a big advocate for us, and we've supported a lot of her events around the world. And so that's helped us get on the main stage with a lot of these decision makers. I'm one of the keynote speakers at the Charging Infrastructure event in the Netherlands in January. I was one of the speakers in the Charn event in Southern California last month, and we're definitely making an impact on the industry. And long term, the real goal, if I'm going to let the cat out of the bag, is we want to create a new standard. Similar to how there's a breakaway valve on every gas pump. UL certified that. We are now working with UL directly, and the end goal is that they will create a standard that will require all chargers worldwide to have built-in breakaway capabilities. So that's when the real opportunity is ignited. But until then, we have a lot of ways of going to market through our retail distribution partnerships. We just launched on a new retailer in Canada yesterday. We're going to be in Home Depot and Canadian Tire by the end of the year, which is a large kind of like a tractor supply or a car and RV parts store in Canada. They obviously also sell tires. And so we actually look at that as an opportunity where we can sell to Discount Tires and America's Tires and all kinds of different groups like that, because they have on record all of the vehicles that their clients drive. In a similar way, insurance companies are one of our go-to-market plans. So we're working with Progressive Insurance now. They know exactly which one of their policy holders have an EV, and they're willing to even offer a discount if they charge with an EVject, because they've seen a lot of their Teslas get vandalized with the anti-Tesla sentiment. They want to avoid that, and so they actually want to team up with us to roll this out and make it a new safety standard for all of their the policy holders. So we think that would be a great way to roll this out. Again, just to look at the opportunity there, there's 7 million EVs that are insured in the US. If only 5% were to accept this offer from their insurance company, that would be 70 million in revenue at our discounted price point. We make good margin on these devices. The Pro Tip costs us $18 and the Escape Connector costs us $40. We sell those anywhere from $200 to $300 for the Escape Connector, and the Pro Tip we plan to sell between $100 and $150. So we're creating 87 to 88% gross margin. So we have moved a lot of devices already. We've manufactured more than 12,000 units and distributed those to customers, mostly that have bought because of social media. They've heard about us. They've gone on our Shopify store and ordered. We just launched on Amazon before Black Friday and sold hundreds of units through our Amazon store. But we're just getting warmed up. So a lot of opportunity. Beyond that, we want to make these devices more smart. And so we know that we can make money off IP licensing, but long term, we actually want to have an app that unlocks the ability to track and monitor your charging. This is especially valuable for fleets so that they don't have melting chargers anymore. They can actually see at a bird's eye view which chargers need to be maintained or serviced, because we'll be able to tell them, here's one where the temperatures are out of their normalized temperature range, and you should go replace the tip. We also can create an integration with the OEMs so that this is the only app you need to charge across all the different chargers. So we could sit between the automaker and the charging station, and as long as you plug an EVject in, we become the payment gateway to unlock all of that. And we provide a company like Ford, who doesn't have a strong software team or doesn't have the connection to all the charging companies. We create that bridge and take this flawed ecosystem and simplify it for the consumer so they can literally pull up to any charger and plug in and know that it will just work. So the opportunity right now is we are raising the last of our seed round. We've already secured 2 million. We have a minimum check size of 50,000, and we have 500,000 available at a $10 million valuation. At the beginning of 2026, we're going to open up our Series A, and that's where Amazon and Tesla and others that we're talking to. We've also been talking to NVIDIA. They obviously are making money hand over fist with their AI business and selling GPUs to the world. They're very interested in this because they want to be behind the smart vehicle revolution, and they see this as a philanthropic effort as part of it to help bring safety to the industry. So we have some big players that want to come in on the Series A. We just want to raise the last little bit to get the pro tip going, land the deal with Amazon, and get that delivered so that we can justify the higher valuation in 2026 when we raise our Series A. So that is where we are with EVJect, and excited to work with anybody in the 10 Capital Network.
Great presentation, Craig. Jordan, what's your first question?
Yeah, I wanted to actually go, I guess ask about the manufacturability and have you set up your foundry to build these? Are they all 3D printed? How does that look? How will that scale as you get these last little bits of funds in the seed round?
So the current version we have is injection molded. We have a factory in China that does the housing, and then we do final assembly in Salt Lake City, Utah. They are very robust. They're built better than any other adapter on the market, and we can prove that based off the temperatures they can endure and they can be driven over. So very solid. With our factory in China and our team in Utah, we could produce and deliver 30,000 units per month with our current setup. However, the challenge is setting up the second product line with the Pro Tip. We would need about $500,000 more to finish what we're doing there with the injection molding and all the tooling to get that established.
So that's where the funds for this seed round would go to.
That's
And
correct.
then I'm not so familiar with the reputation that you kind of spoke about earlier of a different product coming out of giving a company your device, but understand the uncertainty there. I'm wondering, if you've put these devices on the market already before signing all of the documents with Amazon, how do you prevent them from buying and reverse engineering it
So
from their website?
we have not sold the Pro Tip. That's this version. We have not sold the one that actually goes on as a protective measure. And all the Amazon delivery vans are Rivians, so they're this J1772 form factor. So it's technically a different product, and that's the one that we're working with our manufacturer now to do the tooling. This has already started happening, but we're going to continue to need more capital to just finish the manufacturing of these first 30,000 units. To answer your question though about them ripping us off, the fact is we have to be specialists. We have to go to market, be the best at manufacturing this device. Potentially Amazon will actually help us with manufacturing. They've offered that. Once we deliver the first 30,000, they said if that continues to work well, they actually would continue to work with us and potentially just take over the manufacturing and license the patents from us. And so they're very aware of our patent portfolio, and we've made it clear that we want to be partners with them, but at the moment they think they can build it cheaper. They need to talk with us about that and figure out how we negotiate around the patent licensing arrangement.
And then just one final question. This is a really great technology. I think you demonstrated very quickly the multiple different use cases for it. And I'm wondering if you see an avenue forward for this outside of the electric vehicle industry for like automated labs, workstations, all of that kind of.
Potentially, there are some patents that Apple holds for the MagSafe connector, for example, for computer devices. So we'd have to be careful there. But nothing like this exists for the EV space or the maritime industry. So we have a lot of people who have yachts that complain about connections for shore power when they're basically in the harbor and plugged in. They've had problems where outlets are ripped off of docks and things like that. And so they're interested in having us develop something there. It's just a matter of sizing up the market and seeing if that's something we want to venture into. But I do think there's a lot of applications for this, especially in between, vehicles. One other small case study is John Deere. They have electric tractors that are rolling out by, 2030. They want at least 10% of their tractors to be electric. And they are currently putting these large tractors on semi-trailers and plugging them in to charge overnight in their depot or their barn. And then the semi rolls out in the morning, and the driver doesn't look to see if it's unplugged, and it rips the charge port out of the tractor. And so they're interested in putting the EVject in there for that preventative measure. That is one case where the vehicle can move while still plugged in. Usually it's the opposite problem. So
Interesting. Cool. Great, Jordan. Mohammed, what's your questions?
Hi, Greg. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
I think you're on to something with this project, and I was a little bit surprised with your graph where you were showing how much revenue would come from the product itself, which I imagine to be at the bottom. The one that I expected to be a little bit larger was the licensing, and you just alluded to it, right? You're gonna have John Deere's, Teslas of this world, other automakers that could potentially feel like, hey, why shouldn't we license this product if it's better than ours? And candidly, I love the fact that you already have distribution channels already established and even the yacht. But I would really focus on that element of licensing because for you, it's almost kind of pure profit, like high volume, pure profit. And why are you kind of seeing it as an equal revenue percentage, if I see it correctly, between 2027 and 2028 as other avenues?
Yeah, I don't have enough experience with IP licensing. That's something where I
Okay.
would love some expertise.
Okay.
And what I've read is that you usually can get about 10% of the revenue.
Mm.
So for example, if Tesla were to buy this and sell it for $1,000 per device or $100, we could expect 10% of that to come back to us for licensing
Mm.
the invention.
Okay, so the thought is, hey, this model is purely illustrative. We're still working on the numbers to be truly reflective of what's out there. Perfect.
Yes. And as a CFO, I'd love your help.
Yeah, we're meeting after this, so
help us model this out.
Absolutely. No, you're onto something. I think the one thing that you touched on that is a little bit scary, I would say, you said Amazon is known to infringe. Yes, they're known, and there's cases where they went to great lengths to do it. It's like making sure how defensible your product is. And even how enforceable. Like, do you need an army of lawyers to go after people who infringe you? Or are they going to accept you as the go-to guy? That's, I think, the inflection point that you're going to be in over the next 12 to 18 months.
The goal would be that let's build this up over the next 18 months and then sell it to another company, maybe that Siemens or Nvidia, and we let their legal team take on Amazon. Because I don't know that I want to fight a battle against Amazon legal, but we'll let our acquirer, maybe that's Amazon themselves who acquires us, but it could be somebody else who acquires us. And we did have a legal entanglement with Tesla last year, and Tesla dropped the lawsuit because they saw publicly how bad it made them look. There was a headline when Tesla filed a lawsuit against us, actually. There's a headline that said, Elon doesn't care about women's public safety. That was not a good headline for Elon at that time. And we proved that we actually had considered safety a very big factor. It wasn't Elon's decision. It was just the lawyers saw, oh, here's a company that's letting people drive away from chargers. We can shut them down. And they tried, and Elon got involved and told them to back off, and they dropped the lawsuit. And so during that process, though, we had Volkswagen and a lot of other groups come to us. And all the lawyers that rallied around us at the time said, Tesla may not be worried about little EVject, but they're definitely going to be worried if Volkswagen were to buy this technology. And so our goal right now is just to maximize our valuation and make sure that this ends up in the right hands. We want the right, whether that's UL or Siemens or Charge America, some major company should own this technology.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, great presentation, Craig, and great presentation from everybody here. Great questions, Mohammed and Jordan. At this point, we asked who you'd like to follow up with. Jordan, of these companies, who would you like to learn more about?
I think that the first company made the most sense from our portfolio standpoint to follow up with.
Angiex.
Angiex. Though I am also very interested in the diagnostic angle that Vanaja.
Aviana?
Yep.
Anybody else?
I think those two are the most on thesis for us.
All right. And Mohammed, who would you like to follow up with?
I'm actually following up with Craig after this call, and I would love to hear more about the prison and meeting with Vic, I think. and just to discuss more his plans on go to market.
Okay, great. For those in the audience, if you're interested in following up with anybody, go ahead and put it in the chat box and we'll make the introductions. I did have a short presentation I wanted to share with the audience here about deal terms. And so let me get my screen up and then I'll share it here in a moment. At heart, let's see if I have the ability to do that. Can you see my screen? Deal terms? Yeah. And then launch it. So I started an angel network back in 2006 called the Central Texas Angel Network. And the very first deal we did was a group that did a hair care product. And we got the group together and we were a little bit novice at it. And what we found is that we thought, well, let's be comprehensive about this. And so we went to the National Venture Capital Association, it's at nvca.org, and looked at the glossary of the number of terms you can put into a term sheet. There are 125 terms. And we took the approach that we should go through every one of those terms and examine that. Let me tell you, that is not the way you do this. You don't go through all 125 terms. Each term is there to mitigate some risk in the deal. So you go to them when you need them, not just as a blanket statement up front. And what we found after we did that, we hauled in about 8 months later with our term sheet. They were not happy with that. And looking back, I can see why. It was a plain vanilla deal. We didn't really have to do all this stuff. What we found is that there's about 6 terms that came up in almost all the deals that we did. One was the valuation. What's the price that we're paying for the equity? That's usually the number one indicator of return. Number 2 is participation rights. It defines the investor's rights for, to invest in future rounds. 3, if you have redemption rights, what are those? What do you need to, what can you do to get your money back? And this came mostly in convertible notes where you're actually a debt instrument that converts to equity later. If they don't convert to equity, you could get the money back that way. Fourth was the liquidation preferences. This is if you get 1x, 2x, or 3x your money before any of the other investors do, and you'll see those come up often in term sheets. This is something to think about and consider as well. And next was board and information rights. Is somebody sitting on the board, is somebody a board observer, and what information rights do we get? Now, most term sheets come with information rights, but they rarely define it. And what's important is to define it. If you want the P&L, you want the cash flow statements, you want the bank account statements, you have to define what that is in order to make sure you get that. And even if it's written in the document, it's always good to practice to talk with the founder about what exactly are we going to get. Is it going to be an email once every quarter? Is it going to be a conference call every other month? What do we think that's going to be? Just so we're all thinking about the same thing. If you just assume that they're thinking the same thing you are, that usually doesn't end well. And last, and what came up a lot was unvesting founder shares. And the idea is the founder's coming in and they have an objective to take the business from here to there. It's a 3 to 5 year window and so forth. And some investors unvest some of the founder's shares and then they have to earn it back through vesting. And that's simply to, the founder leaves before they complete the window of opportunity there. There's equity left to pay the follow-on CEO who comes in and picks up and runs the business. And so these are the terms that we found that were the most commonly used in negotiations with the founders itself. So I just want to put that out there. You do not have to go through 125 terms. You really have to go through about 6 to 10 of them to really understand and know. And this is a good place to start in trying to figure out what the terms might be for your deal as well. We're at the end of our time here. I want to thank everybody for a great presentation today and for doing a great job with this. Let me unshare my screen here and get back. If anybody in the audience has any follow-ups, let us know. Glad to follow up with you afterwards for your interest in the deals as well. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up for the day. Appreciate you guys taking time, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, and we'll go ahead and close it for now. Have a good one.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.